Hello, and welcome to Switzerland's Wednesday. I react to videos about Switzerland on Wednesdays, okay? This one is by Francesco Piomangini. How it is like living in Switzerland. That's pretty fundamental. Sounds important. The most expensive place in the world. In the world, huh? Is that true? It does have the most expensive real estate in the world, right? It might be the most expensive place in the world. Okay, anyway. This says Geneva, Switzerland, and Hong Kong. Yep, there you go. All right. Let's do it.
One of the most common questions I get is, how is it to live in Switzerland? And in this video, I will be sharing with you my daily life, what actually look like to live in Switzerland, and I will be doing so as I usually do. So
Excellent.
Stay tuned and make sure you smash the subscribe button if you are not
I will be doing so as I usually do.
subscribed yet, because this video will
Excellent. That told me everything I needed to know.
be the truth about Switzerland, the good things and the bad things.
I like this guy. The square flag. Love the square flag. Gorgeous. Holy crap. It's no wonder this is the most expensive place to live. Everybody wants to live here, huh? Look at it. Look at it.
First thing first, we need to actually run some errands. One of the most
Errands.
important errand we have today is to buy the food for our doggy. So for this, we actually going outside Switzerland. Yes, the reality. We are not actually going to do grocery shopping in Switzerland because it's too expensive.
Interesting.
So as I said, one of the things that
That's such a wild concept to me, to leave the country to go grocery shopping.
definitely will be a life change for you if you're living in Switzerland, and specifically if you live in the border of Switzerland as we do, is to actually go grocery shopping in the country next door. In this case for us will be Italy, but for many other people living in Switzerland could
I was going to say Austria,
be
maybe.
Austria, could be Germany. And this is because when you are actually living in Switzerland, the grocery will be like very expensive rent for you if you do it in Switzerland.
Maybe some people drive all the way to Ukraine or Poland or something, you know? 12-hour car drive. Get some cheaper food.
If you don't do it in Switzerland, it probably is going to be very cheap. I'd say 3 times.
It's, you know what this is comparable to, though, is Kentucky. I live here in Indiana, but Kentucky, I live near Kentucky. So the gas is cheaper there. The taxes on gas are a bit lower in Kentucky. So the gas is reliably, 10, 20 cents cheaper there per gallon. And so there are people who cross the bridge and go buy gas over there. That is common. Also, I think sales tax is cheaper. So people go over there to buy cars as well.
It's cheaper than Switzerland. For example, when we go grocery shopping for the whole week in Italy, we'll spend around 170 to 120 euros for the week. Meanwhile, if you will go in Switzerland to do the grocery shopping for the whole week, you will be spending probably around 300, 350 francs to stay like very in a budget.
350 francs. I'm not trying to make fun of this guy's accent, trust me. I think it's really cool. I could see how it might sound like that, though. So I apologize. Wow, 350, 430 US dollars. Holy moly. So the franc and the euro is quite comparable, huh? In exchange rate. Franc to euro. Yeah, it's nearly identical.
Another thing that people may not know is that if you do grocery shopping or you do any type of like purchase outside Switzerland, you can actually claim the tax back. How does it really work? For example, for grocery shopping, if you spend anything in between 150 euros, 300 euros, you can actually claim back the taxes, which is like in between 12 and 15% of what you actually purchase. Make an example, if you spend 150 euros, you will get back anything in between 15 and 17 euros back, which is actually not too bad, because that will pay petrol that you spend in order to reach that grocery shop that usually it's really like nearby the border, so it's not gonna even cost you a fortune to actually reach those places. A little
Wow, interesting. Wait, you get the money back. What does that mean? You get the money back? There must be a slightly different tax. I know you guys do the. I think it's VAT taxes. I think that's yeah. But how do you get the money back? I'm curious. That's certainly not how it works here in the States. Like if you go to another state and, for example, like what I was saying, you go to Kentucky. I don't know how long the video's been gone, by the way, guys. So that's excellent. Oh, my God. My bad. Anyway, yeah. You don't get the sales tax back that you pay in Kentucky if you live here. I don't understand how that works.
Like nearby the border, so it's not gonna even cost you a fortune to actually reach those places. A little extra money back in your pocket, never bad to feel like, oh, I'm getting some money back.
That never feels bad.
Okay, here we are. We got the food, as I said.
I guess I'm gonna look it up because I am actually interested in that process of what he's talking about. Like, how do you get the money back? All right, I've asked ChatGPT. Okay, your friend's almost certainly talking about VAT, so at least I got that right. Switzerland's not in the EU. Right. I knew that. When you buy groceries in a neighboring country, the price includes that country's VAT. Because you're exporting the goods out of that country, you're often entitled to a refund of the VAT. So you drive to Germany, buy something, you're paying taxes in VAT. How is Germany going to refund you that VAT tax? You buy 120 euros worth of groceries in Germany. That price includes VAT, 7% on most food, 19% on other goods. Wow, that is really high, guys. I must say, that's extremely high. It's kind of interesting, I have to say. You know, I never like critiquing, like saying some negative stuff, but like, you know, I must say it's pretty shockingly high. 19% and 7% on food. Here in the States, sales tax, which is comparable to this, is typically anywhere from 0 to 10%. 10%'s high, depending on the state. And on food, it's usually 0. Like, regardless, you know, it's 0 on food. At least some food. Most food. The store gives you a tax-free form. Oh. As you leave the EU, you stop at customs and get the form stamped, proving you exported the goods. You then submit the form or receive it, and you receive the VAT back. Sometimes a refund company keeps a small fee. It's kind of funny, like, why wouldn't they just make it at the point of purchase, like, you show something to prove? I guess that could be exploited. Like, you show your foreign identity. I guess that could pretty easily be exploited. You have to prove that you're actually exporting the goods before they pay you the money back. But it just seems kind of like a lot of, you know, bureaucracy and resources kind of go into this system where it's like you're getting nothing out of it. You know, it's just like, oh, you know, you pay the tax, then you file this form, then they send you the money back, and it's like, okay, that accomplished nothing. And yet a bunch of people had to do stuff to make it happen. VAT is intended to be paid by the final consumer in the country where the goods are consumed. Got it. If you're taking the goods out of the EU, the country generally doesn't want to tax you for consuming them there. Almost feels wrong. Like it kind of like, I don't know, would rub me the wrong way a little bit knowing that people are coming into my country and they're buying stuff cheaper than I buy it in my country. You know, the Germans pay more for their food than the Swiss do. The Swiss come in and pay less for the food in Germany than Germans do. But I understand, you know, it's because the Swiss aren't benefiting from, you know, the tax. Whatever, man. It is interesting, isn't it?
Doing the grocery shopping outside Switzerland is probably the best option. You will pay less for food of the dog or like grocery for your kitchen. It's a good thing for the people that live on the border. It's a bad thing for the people that decide to not live on the border or they cannot live on the border. And so this is something that you have to keep in mind if you are thinking to relocate to Switzerland. But of course, not all the things.
That is definitely something I never would have considered. Like, well, you got to think about the neighboring country, you know? You want to live next to the cheapest neighboring country.
like that seems good are actually good. I mean, you have some sort of limits of like what you can bring inside Switzerland. So
You know what else is interesting about that? I have to just say real quick is that like the pricing dynamics get kind of interesting in that like if the country you go to has a really high VAT, it suppresses the price, like the base price, because, you know, obviously the consumer can only pay so much for whatever good it is. So that tax being higher and higher and higher kind of eats into the margin of, it's like a tariff, you know? It's like what Trump doesn't understand about tariffs is that, you know, like it eats into the margin of the businesses and makes the end product cost more. And so, like, you can exploit that by being a foreigner, in this case, you know, driving across the border from Switzerland. And you get this, like, major benefit of not having to pay that tax. That's, like, this major factor in how much the food costs. But I know that the food is already cheap in Germany and stuff anyway, so I guess, you know, that it's not like a huge issue.
you have to keep in mind, you cannot just go to the next country and buy tons of like grocery shopping. You will have some limits on, for example, oil, milk, specifically on meat. You can buy, for example, only 1 kilogram per person of meat. So you want to do like grocery shopping for
That's not very much, is it?
the whole family, then you have to keep in mind that you won't be able to buy that meat because you can't just say, oh, I have 4 kids home, or I have my
You can't say that.
wife home. No, it doesn't work like that. So there are those things that you need to keep in mind if you are going to purchase things outside Switzerland. But now let's go back to Switzerland so I can show you more about, like, you know, rent, utilities, like things that you know, like you want to know before you move to Switzerland.
So we are back home now. Let's talk about one of the most important thing about Switzerland itself, which is the living cost of Switzerland. Let's start with the rent. It really depends where you're living. Of course, if you're living in...
Wait, a 4.5 room. Okay. I'm not used to that. Like here in the States, we do it by bedrooms, in which case a 4-bedroom apartment would be gigantic. But this is a 4-room apartment, 4.5 room. $3,800 francs. 3,800 francs. That's way more. That's like $5,000. Oh my gosh.
in Zurich or Geneva or Lugano, those are probably the 3 most expensive cities. Keep that in mind. But if you're
Okay, we got a lot of info here. Family of 4, $7,451. Total with rent, $7,000. Family of 4, okay. All right. Oh my. I mean, okay. Hey, I mean, if you've got 2 incomes, then I guess, and this is in U.S. dollars, apparently. I don't know because that dollar sign is actually not, you know, necessarily U.S. dollars, but safe to assume in this context it is. 7,000. You know, I guess if you have 2 incomes, does this include tax? Monthly salary after tax. What? Okay. But the total with rent. Yeah, I mean, if you have 2 incomes, that's a lot. That is certainly a lot, isn't it?
not living like specifically in the city center,
It'd be hard to save money.
and you're living a little bit like outside.
Unless you get paid a bunch. I mean, I guess there's a ton of jobs that pay really well in Switzerland. That's the, you know, that's the other side of the equation.
By the city center, or like for example on the border, the cost of living, it's definitely more affordable compared to the average net income of a Swiss person or Swiss resident. Just to give you an idea, for example, right now we are in Ticino, Canton. We are living near the
It's freaking gorgeous, man.
border, 5 minutes from Lake Como, 17 minutes by car from Lugano, and we're paying for 120 meters square plus garden around 2,200 Swiss francs.
120 meters square. I'm curious what that is in square feet, because I don't know. That's how we, measure the size of things. So that's 1,300 square feet. It's actually pretty big. That's a big apartment.
or 120 meters square plus garden.
And that's 2,200, which I guess is like 3,000 US dollars. Sorry guys, bear with me. 2,700. Okay.
Around
It's a lot of money.
2,200 Swiss franc. I know it might sound a lot, but believe me, it's actually like not too bad. Seen
It's really not that bad considering how big that apartment.
apartments in Lugano, which were way smaller, yet they were in the city center, but the price was insane. You have to keep in mind that the average Swiss resident will pay around anything in between 1,500 Swiss franc, and they can go above like 2,000 Swiss franc. That's the first thing. The second thing is health insurance, which is mandatory in Switzerland. There's no public health here in Switzerland as, for example, in Italy. That will take another up to 600 Swiss franc.
600 a month? So that is 738. I mean, it's pretty similar to here in the States, but that is high. Like, you can find much cheaper options than that here in the States for health insurance. And trust me, I'm not defending our health care system here in the States. I think it's garbage. But with that said, clearly Switzerland is pretty expensive. Woo! Yeah, I mean, you can get health insurance as a single person, a single young person here in the States. If you need to get, like, bad health insurance, you know, you can get it for, you know, $300 a month.
Per month from each person living in the house. If you are an independent, so you're not working for someone,
At least you could back in the Obamacare. I don't know. I used to have Obamacare, you know, and it was like, you know, it was like back in those days, it was like $230 a month or something. Nowadays, it's probably more expensive because Trump probably dismantled it.
will be slightly
And inflation.
more expensive because you will have to basically cover the cost of the entire health insurance by yourself. When you are employee, you know, part of the cost is covered by the employer, so it will be less damaging on your net income, let's say that. Utilities, in terms of like water, gas, electricity, I think they are great, you know, they're not like super high. We pay roughly just electricity and water around 300 every 3 months.
300 every 100 a month. That is not bad for electricity and water. What? I pay that just for water.
Roughly
I pay $100 a month for water, almost.
just electricity and water around 300 every 3 months, something like that. 300 Swiss francs. So
That's super cheap.
that's not too bad. Those are the main utilities, main
And I know that's francs, but you know, still.
bills that you're gonna actually pay in Switzerland. This was the bad part of Switzerland. Let's say that. I think it's the one that everyone is.
Then again, I have a house. You know, it's a lot bigger than 1,200 square feet. Not trying to flex.
Thing about Switzerland is very expensive. Of course, I am.
But then again, you know, how big your house is doesn't really. My house isn't that big, by the way. It's not that much bigger than 1,200, but it is bigger. That doesn't really correlate that closely to how much water you use, though, huh? Like, it definitely, you know, like the size of your house definitely, especially here in the States where we have air conditioning, like it correlates to your electricity and natural gas bill. But your water bill is going to be similar. You know, that's more so just about how many people you're living with, you know, that are showering and stuff. You know, if you live with a stinky person that doesn't shower, your water bill is going to be much lower. With all that said, you know, for us, $100 a month.
I'm not
For 4 people.
mentioning like that if you go out eating in a restaurant or if you go out doing any sort of activities, that will come with a price, and the price is gonna be very high. For me, for example, that I'm a person that love to travel around, I've noticed that in Switzerland, like a night in a hotel is probably twice as expensive as a night in a hotel in Italy. Just to give you an idea, why Switzerland is the most expensive country in the world? Because Switzerland is the most beautiful country in the world, because Switzerland is the most safe country in the world, because
That's interesting because I feel like, you know, it might be mixing up causation and might be flipping it around potentially. At least, you know, it plays off each other for sure. You know what I mean? Like, what I'm saying is Switzerland is probably safe because it's rich, not rich because it's safe. Although it might go both ways. I'm not saying it doesn't go both ways. But, I mean, I certainly notice that here in the States. If a place is occupied by a bunch of rich people, you know, like very famously Martha's Vineyard, you know, this island that is occupied by elites of the United States, you know, billionaires and, you know, like Obama. It's very safe there. Very safe, you know, and Beverly Hills is very safe. And I guess it goes both ways on, you know, like, that's why they moved there. But it's also because it's a bunch of rich people, so they make sure to fund their police and stuff. And no poor people can afford to live there. And, you know, people, unfortunately, people committing a lot of crimes are, you know, a lot of the most desperate people among us. And that's nothing necessarily against them. It's just, you know, that's just the facts. Like, rich people aren't going to, you know, scam you on Craigslist, you know, show up and, you know, to buy your Nintendo Switch and then snatch it out of your hands and run away because they don't need to, they don't want to, they don't care to, you know. I'm just laughing because I feel like I'm potentially stepping into offensive territory, even though I'm not trying to at all. It's just, it is what it is, you know what I'm saying?
Switzerland.
And trust me, I've been poor, so I'm not even saying it. I love poor people, man. They're awesome.
Everything works, from the hospitals to bureaucracy to the taxes. Everything you actually expect to not work in your country, okay? So, Switzerland is expensive, yes, but everything else works. Now, let me show you why Switzerland.
It's interesting that he didn't even mention the whole neutrality thing, you know, like, and, you know, therefore banking thing, you know, and bank privacy thing, you know, like, really large fundamental reasons why Switzerland has a lot of money.
Switzerland is the most beautiful country in the world. In this 10-15 seconds, I will be showing you the best places to visit in Switzerland.
All right.
And before I let you go to the next video, make sure you smash that subscribe button.
I do love this guy, though. I think this is an excellent video.
If you are not subscribed yet, and leave a thumbs up below. If you have any comment or question, there's a comment bar below, and I will be coming back to each of you. I'll see you at the next video.
Breathtaking. Wow. Man. But it's also, you know, like that way with California too. Like, there's definitely something to the idea that, like, a lot of wealth tends to gravitate toward the most beautiful places. Then again, there's also some really gorgeous places on planet Earth that are, like, very, very poor. So it's, I don't know. It's definitely not like a guarantee that a place is going to be rich. For sure, not at all. But California is like the most beautiful state here in the United States. It just is. It's absolutely gorgeous. And it's the richest. You know, I don't think that's a coincidence. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow.